after I purchased the house, of course, I wanted to put my own touches on it and make a little bit of my own. And having to go through the Historic Preservation Committee and to make those changes, I was a little intimidated, but I was pleasantly surprised at how easy the process was. First, I contacted Jessica, and she walked me through every step of the process. I talked with her the ideas on what I would like to do, and from there she helped me gather all the pieces of paper, all the plans and the contractor names and anything that I might need in order to go through the process. The process takes about a month or two depending on what the timing of the historic preservation meetings. Once the plans are submitted and all the paperwork is filed, Jessica will help type up the submission and get all the paperwork together to the historic preservation so they can review it before the meeting actually occurs. And then she will be there, Jessica will be there at the meeting with you and help to talk to the preservation committee about everything that you would like to do. And after the presentation is made to the historic committee, they'll ask you some questions, ask you what kind of materials you would like. It's often helpful to bring some of the color swabs, the materials that you'd like to use, and after they get a chance to ask questions, they can either choose to vote, which most of the time they do, to approve, which I have had the approval on anything I've ever tried to bring in front of the Historic Committee, or if they'd like a few extra days or maybe another week to go back and look at some of the things to consider before they approve it. But every Historic Preservation Committee meeting I've been to, they've been very helpful with the homeowners and very supportive with them making changes to their house.
Kathy, Jill and Kevin just mentioned that they brought materials to you, showed you paint colors when they wanted approval from the HPC. One of the complaints that we've had for so many years now is that people are afraid that you're going to try to tell them what color they can paint their house. Is that true?
If they want a chartreuse house, let them paint it. We don't care about the color of the house. That is not part of what we're trying to guide. I think if you say that Kevin came to us and talked to us about paint color, what he was doing was trying to match what would have been colors that would have been used during that period, not a specific, can we use this shade of brown, for the house. We are concerned with more the architectural elements of the house as opposed to things like paint color.
Okay, and what about the other question I know you receive regularly is are they going to try to tell me how I can use my house?
Absolutely not. We don't govern use at all. We don't govern what they do with the interior of the house. If someone wants to go into an older home and they choose to remodel that home and take out walls, that is not part of what we deal with. We are talking about, in historic preservation, how does that house look from the street? Does it look consistent with the other houses that are in that particular district or that area in terms of the time periods that the houses were built? Those are the issues that matter to us. As far as the use of the property, if someone has a property and they have it zoned or asked to have it zoned to be commercial property, that's not something that we have any jurisdiction over at all.
Jessica, how much have you learned about historic preservation in the past 7 years?
I've learned a tremendous amount. I think, I don't know if it's a good thing, but a lot of people refer to me as the local expert, and I'm certainly by no means an expert, but I have learned a lot and continue to learn. Every time I go to the training, I learn something new, something on how to help the Historic Preservation Commission to continue to make defensible decisions and to help dispel any myths that are out there. And just to add to what Kathy was saying, there are local provisions in our ordinance and in the state act that say you cannot look at paint color. That is a matter of personal choice, and it's changeable, it's temporary, and they do a great job. They know their boundaries as a commission, and I commend them for their continued work on that. And we also have, I think the city of Gainesville, as I mentioned, unlike other communities, we've done a really good job of trying to make this very property owner friendly, because it's something new, so it's a little scary for folks to accept, but it works in concert with the zoning. It doesn't conflict it, and I think we've done a really good job with that.
Jill and Kevin both had really great things to say about you and how you really basically held their hand and walked them through the process and made it much easier than they had anticipated. Are you the first person, the first point of contact, and if someone wants to do one of these projects, are you the person they need to call?
Yes, ma'am, generally. But they're certainly more than welcome to contact one of the Preservation Commission members if they feel more comfortable.
Okay.
And they occasionally do. They'll somebody will see us out and about somewhere, and they'll say, well, we're thinking about, and we can give them some guidelines just based on what we have experienced, and then we send them to Jessica because Jessica is our expert.
Kathy, let's talk about one of your favorite houses on Green Street, and it is the home that is actually behind you on the wall back there. So tell us about that house, and we can see the before and after pictures, so the success of that piece of property, but it has a unique story.
It does indeed. That was the old Sheridan home, and Mrs. Sheridan was really well known on Green Street. She had a hat shop, and she made divinity candy, and her daughter had told me that she just loved growing up in that house. And there came a time when we had a developer that wanted to tear that house down. They wanted to do some other things on that particular space. And I will never forget a phone call that I got from this daughter who said to me, "That's the home I remember. Don't let it get torn down." And so we talked to the developer. We went over to the side of the property. We went over the property, and the owner said, "Well, I just don't think this can be rehabbed." And we said, "Oh, but it can." And fortunately, Chris Slate with Southern Realty bought that piece of property. They have put a good deal of money into it to get it up to where it is now. And now it is a gorgeous home. And I still get compliments from the daughter who comes by my office sometimes and says, "That's my house and it's still standing."
And you told me a few years ago, this is called a 4/4?
Yes, that's right.
What does that mean?
Well, 4 rooms downstairs, 4 rooms upstairs. And it's a really unique design. There is not another house of that particular design the way it is on that street.